the two littlest children and a big child here with me too. We're having our breakfast on a morning, afternoon.
Shalom. Good to see all of you. Get you closer to us. How's everybody doing? We're here. We're here in Israel, in the land where everything starts. And we are excited to have our family back together. We are excited to go on a new path, which is just a continuous of what we started, but it feels fresh. It feels revived. It feels rejuvenated. And Kelly and the boys just got here not even a week ago, and we have been just walking back and talking about the exciting things that Cali is doing and things that are going to happen in Mexico next year. And I just said, let's make a video. Let's make a video for all of our friends and loved ones in Mexico and in South America, and of course all over the world, where it feels to me that we are ready to take the next evolutionary step for humanity and reach or embody what we call the new human.
I love that you're like repeating things that we've said, that you've said in a lot of your videos, or to me a lot of the times, Siggy will say, I feel like we're ready. We'll have an inspiring conversation, and then it's like, we need to tell the world it's time. And I think this is a theme for many years, just a pattern, or like a symbol that of the expansion of consciousness, of where we're headed, right? Where we were headed, where we are headed, or what's happening. Was speaking to what's happening, and certainly the last few days of landing in Israel and being in a place that's somewhat familiar to me, and being with a dynamic that's somewhat familiar to me and to us, yet again and again feels new. And I think that's the point, or that's the center of consciousness, is where the moving beyond the limitation and the comfort zone lives, and where you live, where your familiarity, or the essence of your soul lives. And so that's why when we relate from that place, for me, it's a new dynamic. It's constantly new, and this is what's missing, or what's new per se in engaging in conscious relationship. And it's challenging at times. The intensity of the challenge, that place between the essence of you and the comfort zone, is gets larger and larger, gets more expanded. So when you're in those, when you're breaking through and expanding beyond, it can be really painful or really challenging, but for shorter time. So I don't know if this is resonating with any of you who are experiencing this feeling of newness in your day-to-day lives, and your relationships, and the way that you're engaging with your new self, or your new found ways of living on this planet. But it's happening for everybody, you know. It's the result of the expansion, the exponential collective comfort zone. And so individually, we're all experiencing it as well. And more and more, I find out that still, Siggy and I come to places where we're like, we have those moments where we feel like, I know nothing about you, or you know nothing about me, like for those brief moments. And that's when we're like breaking, that's the opportunity then for that familiar, like, knowing, part of you to let go and to move beyond the pain. And but sometimes a lot of the time, more than not, feeling the pain, letting it move through you is necessary, to the expansion of the new dynamic. So we're definitely finding a new dynamic. We're definitely finding ways with just the four of us. This is the first time that it's been the two of us, and then our two youngest children together, and moving through, continuing, right? Like getting used to, okay, the getting used to like always finding new dynamics, or right, not like, oh yeah, okay, we've arrived, this is it. But
Yeah, it's just, you watch a movie and the movie has a beginning and an end, and the end of the movie is just the end of that particular movie. There's always a continuation, right? There's something that is happening with those characters. There's something happening with life. Life doesn't stop. And you have been feeling that, like so many people around you. You've been feeling that change is not only in the air, it's finally here. It's in the ground, it's in earth, it's in the water. It's moving you, it's calling you. And it's time to address that. It's time to address that change. It's time to take the responsibility for that change, and to know, yeah, there's a component in it that is unfamiliar, and therefore it brings some worries with it. It brings some fear and some anxiety with it. It's normal, right? Not to know what's coming up, and to maybe be a bit worried about it. But at the same time, there's the other side of it, which is excitement, which is being excited about something that is coming up. Just like you will receive a present to your birthday, and it's going to be wrapped up, right? So you, just because it's wrapped up and it's your birthday, you will feel confident about opening it up. But actually, you don't know what's inside. Still, you will feel that excitement because the surroundings is allowing you to be in that space. So for Kelly and the boys, it's a new surroundings. Also for me, in a way, it's a new surroundings to move now in all of that, from as a family and as one unity. And there are challenges in that. There's the challenge of, okay, I've established a certain boundary, or I've established a certain sense of who I am, and now I'm meeting the community, right? And it's, in that case, it's Kelly and it's the kids, but then it's also the rest of the people that are moving together with us into this new humanity, into this new path, or the continuation of the path, but it's a new chapter. So it's understanding where's my boundaries, and then allowing them to open up to something different.
And it's the Jewish New Year also. We're also here in Israel going to be experiencing in just a few days the Jewish New Year, and so it's perfect time for anyone anywhere in the world to tap into that, because it's very central here to the essence of the globe, right? We all have some connection to every point on the earth, but we can use it as an opportunity to tap into, just to accentuate like a accentuate what we're already experiencing. And Sagi mentioned the work in Mexico that I'm doing, and in the
Want to share a bit about that?
I was about to. Yeah, you said you were speaking of fear, right, and of like that, what we were saying of the discomfort that comes along with expansion. So when we choose that, it is a choice, and it's easier to stay within a more like steady stream of discomfort. Like a lot of people are living, they don't know it because it's become just such a pattern and a loop that the discomfort is just their way. They're like constantly in a subtle state of discomfort. So to avoid more discomfort or less, the contrast, and that is just not expanding. So the work that I'm doing is with the inner child, and relating relating fear and the understanding of past patterns and our essence of our very first experiences of coming into this world, how we built our identity, like you said, or how we built our perceptions of this reality from the very beginning, how we started conditioning our way we engaged with the world, and other people heavily conditioned us. It was both and the same to lean more towards fear and lack consciousness, so to keep us safe. We were still in this pattern of even though we no longer were born into a world where we really needed to fear our immediate environment of tigers and the weather. We didn't have those things. We were still carrying these beliefs, and we took them into our relationships. Now we took them into sitting in a quiet room and conjuring them up inside of us, even though nothing was happening on the outside. And so it's time now to cleanse the DNA and the memory of the lack consciousness, or to shine the light, which is what is happening collectively. We see all this darker stuff being exposed, or this corruption being exposed, and it's like also that reflection of us, the way that we've tainted our inner child and our innocence. So bringing more of that innocence back into who we are and our relationships, and the curiosity, you said excitement, and I heard curiosity, becoming curious about the other person, without putting a past belief or construct onto that person or onto the situation, but genuinely becoming curious about life and this is one way to begin, or to continue to move through the fear. The fear will come, and instead of fight, flight, or freeze, instead of running, shutting down, stuffing the emotion in, you open up to the fear in a way. You become curious about the fear. You become curious about yourself and your inner child, because there's so many layers of the patterning put upon
So how do
the
you
identity.
how do you actually do that? How do you actually work with the inner child?
It depends on the moment, but in a moment to moment way, it's it's a belief or an energy. It's an identity thing, right? It's how do you experience yourself in a new way that connects with the inner child energy essence more, the one that is free of the conditioning. And so sometimes you have that intention and then you come to like a layer, let's say, or a fear or a belief that you feel and you sense, but maybe you don't really know. So some ways that you can intentionally and deliberately move through that some stuckness or a boundary is to reconstruct that experience, because it all comes back to some experience or some belief.
Like some childhood belief or something happened to you in your childhood.
Yeah, could be childhood and past. It could be a combination of things, but it's so it depends on. It's more simple, yeah, to distill it to an experience that you remember. So when that happens, usually if you can stop and be present with that fear, with that belief, and you stay with it enough. It's talking to somebody super helpful about that. Someone who is curious about, oh, where does that fear come from? But you can ask yourself the questions, you can journal it, but distilling it to that a moment, distilling it to almost like the dualistic nature of it, right?
So let's put things just a second in an order. So what we're saying here is that first of all, when we experience fear, or when we realize there is a trauma in our life, we can relate it to our childhood, we can relate it to the inner child, and we can relate that to past life experiences. And they are all being tapped as we grow up. As we grow up, we come with a certain type of karma, we come with certain type of experience from former lives, and that affects how we grow up. That invokes certain traumas in childhood, certain patterns that then we carry into our life, and as grown-ups we start realizing them. They start popping up, they start disturbing us, they bring up something in us, a certain type of fear that we look upon and we say, okay, or that's just what you're saying actually, is you're saying, let's look into that. Let's not avoid when there comes a fear. Let's not pretend that it's not there, but let's shine a light on that and ask ourselves, okay, why is it there? Where does it come from? And what can I do with it?
It's actually those areas that are continuing to hold you back, that you reach, you create a same pattern with relationships, romantic relationships, or any relationship. You come to the same kind of pattern that you just feel you can't go beyond. And so I'll share, for me, something that became noticeable for me was my tendency to take what what I experienced as trauma in my childhood, or like lack, the lack that was reflected to me from my environment, and to like do the opposite. So I got a lot of messages of restriction, and
by whom?
by my parents.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So by my parents, but then that also rippled out into just my general environment. It wasn't only my parents, of course. Then it was the family unit, the way that I went about, just really seeing this, feeling like my fullness in me, but then getting constant messages of no, too much.
So what you're saying is that
restriction, but yet
as a child, you felt more than what the immediate society was reflecting back. There were putting boundaries. They were telling you, don't
Yeah.
do that, don't behave like that. This
Yeah.
is not the way.
But I knew, especially, and then that I knew that was that there was just so much more than that, and then gradually, right, my light became more dim. The light became more dim. I got more and more discouraged, and still though, my tendency was to, okay, like I'm going to, if the the conditioning that I learned was to save, to withhold my emotions, to withhold my money, to like constrict and be careful and all of that, then I'm gonna be free and I'm gonna share my money and I'm going to. So my tendency was to kind of go to the other extreme, to see what that other extreme was like, and so then later on in life, I wanted to face this fear, the no, the restriction, all of that, and I wanted to ask myself, where did this come from in my childhood? Like, what was the actual experiences, and what did that look like? And it came, memories came really clear to me, like actual, this moment that I was, 4 years old in the backyard, and just remembering how I felt, how that felt when I was told, no, or this is one example. This is just one, and it's usually the like very, very simple, and people think it's like the most harmless incidents, right? The parents, they think like, oh, it's the harmless things, but it's the soul that gets. We don't know when the child's soul is going to have that loss or that cut, and so what you can do is you can.
Wait, just a second. Let's
Wait, no, just a second after I share, because this is the point that I want to get to. Of you asked me what can people do, so they can, and we'll come with like maybe a more bullet point process of what it is that we're saying. Like, that's how do you get to that point, that memory, and then you can actually recreate it. So first you need to get to that feeling, the discomfort. You need to in the present moment get to that point of discomfort, feel the discomfort, feel the intensity of the sadness, the grief, the loss, and then choose to, well, what would I have wanted that to be? What was that contrast? What would I have wanted that to be like? And for me, it was just once I even just set that intention, I saw myself as a 4 or 5 year old little girl, just twirling around in the backyard, just free in that same spot. It was like, I see in that same spot, just me, I see it, but I'll feel it. More importantly, I feel the little girl, the little and sometimes the age can be really helpful and important, because it's like an energy signature. So if you can pinpoint the age and you can pinpoint the place that a trauma happened, then you can reconstruct that experience, and it will reconstruct every experience you experienced then after. So anytime you have a memory come up, you can do this. You can do it really quickly. You can do it through journaling, however you get there, and then it becomes more of a practice, just like yoga or just like meditation. It becomes a habit or a tool that you can pull out of your toolbox.
Let's explain this again. I think
Yeah.
we're moving fast here.
Okay.
So what you're saying is that when we first, we need to recognize that there is a trauma or that there is a fear. and then we need to recognize that it comes from a certain experience in the past.
Can I tell you how you can recognize it?
Just a second.
Okay.
Then we need to recognize that it comes from the past, and then we can, using our imagination, maybe guided imaginary process or guided meditation, is happening
Therefore,
by
how we are.
imagining how we would have it to happen. And the basic thing here is to connect to the emotion, so we transform the emotion from a one of contraction, fear-based, lack, to a one of expansion, a one that is more empowering.
More loving, empowering. Yeah.
Yeah.
It shifts the
And then
frequency.
it shifts the frequency, and then it ripples out from that inner child that is still inside of us and still experience
The
that,
memory.
the memory. It ripples out to the grown-up human being that we are today.
Yeah.
That's what you say. Okay.
Yeah. So you can also relate the inner child even to past life, because it's the memory that we carry
Yeah.
and the beliefs that we carry.
So how do you do that? How do you recognize that this was from the past?
Well, usually it's a pattern that you keep seeing come up in your life, so you know there's something here. It becomes clear that, again, there's like that something I can't move beyond. This is a clear indicator that it's a something that happened that you have layers on that is dictating your relationships.
But how can you pinpoint it to that typical experience that you had as a child?
Well, what I was going to say before is that how you know that there's like a restriction or a trauma there, or a fear. You can feel it actually. You can pay attention to your root chakra, but that space between the anus and the perineum is what it's called, the very base of your bottom, will be tight. Will be tight. And I mean, you can be I can be sitting talking now, and it can be also tight because maybe I'm a little bit afraid to speak on camera, or maybe I'm a little bit shy or just I'm a little uncomfortable. So that's just an indicator that you're in a place of there's some fear present there. So you can identify first when you're sitting in a place of fear, and you can just like physically just focus on relaxing that first. If you just want to give yourself that sense of relief, so that you can then ask yourself the question. It all comes from the curiosity. It all comes from asking the question, what is this? What is here? And you'll get the answer. There's no one way of getting the answer, but it only you can do this work. Someone else can't do the work for you. So
Only
even
you can save humanity.
yeah.
There's a book like that by Terry Pratchett, and this is true, right? Because if each and every one of us is his own world, and we are the center of that world. This is what I always say to people. Look around you, look to the left, look to the right. You'll figure out that you are in the center, in the middle of your own story. You are your main character in your own movie. So, and we are affecting everybody else that is in our movie, everybody else that is inside our world. So there's no point in looking at somebody else to change our world for us and to save our world for us. It's taking back that power and saying, I can do that. And I have all the tools to do that. I just need to remember, right? Put back together all my pieces. This is what the word remember means actually in English. It's member, it's putting back all my members, all my parts. It's putting them back. And that relates beautifully to how we go back to the childhood and see all those fragmented moments for each time that we were told no, each time that we felt a trauma, that we felt I'm not allowed, then something was broken inside. And the word in Hebrew for happiness is directly derived from the word I'm allowed,
Mm.
which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
And oftentimes we think of trauma and we think of like a really like an accident or something really you know, a sexual trauma or like a and oftentimes it's the more like those ones we allow ourselves to heal from because the reflection from the outside is like, oh, something happened, like something bad happened, and then you can acknowledge it and you can choose. Then it's like the process is a little bit more like allowed. But if you're just like sitting in a coffee shop and you have like if you feel fear come up or whatever and you start like shouting, it's not as much allowed. Or you start feeling the emotions in a conversation that's just about breakfast, then the person may be like, whoa, what's wrong with you? Or like take it personally, right? So this work is challenging for that reason because um, we 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 have restricted and not allowed ourselves to experience. So I think we'll kind of close from saying that one way to heal the inner child is by bringing more light into the trauma, right? We understand that restriction, fear, and trauma are part of life, or they're actually a part of healing. They're a part of expansion, and so we can just gently bring more light in that area and start that process. And then in our next video, I think we can talk about when that's not quite enough, when, yeah, okay, we've shined light on something, but in a relationship, there's something that's there, that a pattern that, like, okay, I'm aware of this, I know it, but yeah, it keeps coming up, like, and I've done my own work, but now oftentimes this can be called for more expression, more shining the light, but then there needs to be a little bit more. We actually allow fear, and we embrace fear a bit more. We like allow the spectrum of emotion to be seen and felt and heard, within us an understanding that our intention always is still to get to the light, but there may be more in between, because there's a dynamic now, because it's okay. Well, you if you want to repeat what I'm saying more simply, that's fine.
No, we will. So there's a lot to talk about, and we want to take this also to the place of relationship. We'll make this video short. We'll make more videos. We'll try to keep them short and to the point. If you guys have any questions to us and to the inner child, to the work that Kali does, to what we want to do in Mexico, to the New Humanity, to the new relationships, please keep them in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and share it and subscribe. This is really helping the channel and helps just shine a light, as Kali said. Always go towards the light. Understand that we come back to the darkness. We find our solace in the darkness, but we always go back to the light. And I just like to wrap up the what we started with. This is the high holidays in Israel, but they are there to remind us that this is a time of changing. The northern part of the hemisphere is entering the more colder days, and the southern part of the hemisphere are entering the more brighter days, the more warmer days. So this is really a time of change, of shift that is gonna follow us for at least the next half a year. And it's a time to either start seeing everything pop up from the ground and the richness of Mother Earth and what she wants to share with us. Actually, the seeds that we have planted during winter, they come up, they start sprouting underground in winter, and this is the time for them to come out and for us to enjoy it, for us to engage with it. Or for the northern part of the hemisphere, that's the other way around. For us, it's the time to start getting into the darkness, getting into ourselves, realizing what we want to plant for the next half a year, for the next season to come. So we'll start planting it in the ground and allow it to sprout in the darkness and warmth of Mother Nature. For when spring comes, it comes out again and we can enjoy it. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to my time tomorrow at 6:30. I get an hour away from the children
yeah,
after a
long time.
No, just like 3 years.
Not, but after a year and a bit.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's
Okay.
a celebration time for all of us. And thank you for sharing your beauty and your knowledge. Thank you for you guys to watching and following, and stay tuned. Love you guys.
Ciao.
Ciao, see you soon.